One of the most common types of cases that we work on as an investigative agency is asset search, asset recovery. And many times these asset searches are a result of a court case, a small claims case, civil litigation, a judgment. And there's a really good publication put out by the New York State court system about how judgments work, how recovery works in court cases. This particular flyer is for small claims and commercial small claims, but it has some general information about how asset searches work. And some of this you can do yourself. In fact, this publication tells you as a plaintiff how you can do your own asset searching. A lot of times, you know, what we do may be more advanced than this, but it'll give you a good guideline of how to do that. So, you know, this publication tells you how to do a case, file a claim, and collect the judgment. So let's take a look at some of the details that are offered in this case. Who can use a small claims court? Let's look at assets, how to get assets. Let's find, and how much does it cost? Here's one thing that people don't realize. Small claim is pretty cheap. Small claim might only cost you 15, 20 bucks, right? So if you have a dispute, the cost is very, very small to do this. Where's the section on assets? Because, you know, the court wants to help you get a good result from your case. They don't want to leave you hanging. They can't do things for you. They can't, you know, collect the money for you, but they can give you some very good suggestions on how to do that. As an example, when the case is done, how do I get my money if I win? After the trial, the court will mail you a notice of judgment. The notice of judgment will tell you how much money the other side has to pay you. It'll tell you the address for the sheriff's office, which will help you collect your judgment. It'll also tell you about ways to collect your judgment. First question is, will the court help you enforce the judgment? And the short answer is no, they won't collect it for you. You must collect the judgment yourself, according to most states. And the judgment is valid for up to 20 years. Even if you won your case, there's no guarantee you can collect your judgment. If the defendant does not pay willingly, there are legal steps you can take. First of all, you want to ask them, just straight up, can you ask the debtor to pay for it? Enforcement officer. The enforcement officer is a sheriff or marshal, is authorized to take money or property to pay your judgment. But here's the key. They have to know where to take it from. So the asset search is required to give to the sheriff or marshal or enforcement officer to know where to take those assets from. They're not public employees in most cases. Even sheriffs work independently. Tells you how to find them. Do you have to pay the enforcement officer? Yes. If the judgment is coming from income, you might have to pay a $50 fee. Sometimes it's 5%. But the most important thing is you have to find the assets. How does the enforcement officer know what assets the judgment debtor has? You must find out about the debtor's assets, and you have to give that information to the officer. The officer will want to know about checking and savings account, property, real estate, vehicles, business property. There are 14 different types of assets. If you tell the enforcement officer about all those types, they can go to work for you. So then the next question obviously is, how do I find out about that? Well, you can do a subpoena to make the debtor tell you what they are, but what you'll find and what we've seen in most cases, they're not going to tell you voluntarily. They're going to delay or put wrong information on that subpoena. You don't want to rely on it as all the assets, because they will be more inclined to lie, and there's really no consequence for them to do that. How else can you find out about the assets? Well, good question. In fact, it's such a good question, they put it right in the directions. How to find out about the bank account. Find out maybe somebody who paid them by check and look on the back of the check for the bank information. how to find out if they have a car. The DMV, you can do a DPPA request to the DMV to find out about their car. How about if they own real estate? You can go to the county clerk and do a title search and get a transcript of that title search and ask the enforcement officer to sell the property. You have to fill out papers, but they can do that. Are there any other ways to make a judgment debtor pay? Some states you can make them suspend their driver's license. You can put a lien on their business, but again, you're going to have to know about that business. So this asset search and recovery is not an uncommon question. It's so common that the state in New York puts the instructions in their court pamphlet. Tells you how to do it. They even make resources available for you on making it easier. So remember, you have to find the assets yourself or have an investigator find them. But once they're discovered by an asset search, then the recovery agent can start working on it for you, or the court can issue a writ of garnishment. You may need legal advice for that as well. So hopefully that answers some questions about recovering assets from a court judgment. And here's an example of some third-party information that validates some of the things we've discussed before and may help you if you have a judgment against a debtor from litigation that you want to collect on.